Highs at 95 degrees Celsius and lows at 76. Yeah, that is, let me check. Okay, we have more. Let us take a look at Kaduna right now. Kaduna is up next. It is 78 degrees Celsius in Kaduna right now. By 10 a.m., it's expected to rise to 84 degrees Celsius. 11 a.m., 88 degrees Celsius. 12 p.m., 90 degrees Celsius. And by 1 p.m., 92 degrees Celsius. Sunny conditions are expected around now. Wind gusts are up to 18 miles per hour. Highs at 93 degrees Celsius and lows at 66 degrees Celsius. Our final weather forecast this morning is from Kano State. Partly cloudy conditions are expected around 10 a.m. Wind gusts are up to 11 miles per hour. It is 77 degrees Celsius in Kano right now. By 10 a.m. is expected to rise to 82 degrees Celsius. By 11 a.m., 86 degrees Celsius. And by 12 p.m., 89 degrees Celsius. So there you have it, our weather report for today. I'm glad to let you know that we have our visuals as you follow right here on the show. So let's go straight on now to the front pages of the paper. And this morning we are starting with This Day newspaper. This Day newspaper this morning has the screaming headlines: Tinubu moves to fast track Siemens power project, recommits to stable electricity. That's on the front page of This Day newspaper. There's a rider: President says no economic development without reliable power supply. Directs expansion of transformer. Deal seeks to raise Nigeria's power supply to 25 kilowatts from current 5 kilowatts. Gigawatts, I beg your pardon. Above that story, EFCC declares ex-minister Timipre Silva wanted over alleged $14.8 million refinery fund. Above the mast, alleged $1 billion loan claim. Nest Oil queries FBN Quest's refusal to provide bank statements. Moves to appoint 10 local and international forensic auditors for all its Nigerian banks' accounts. At 6.5 million, Nigeria's total metering rate hits 55%, active customers near 12 million. I take that again. At 6.5 million, Nigeria's total metering rate hits 55%, active customers near 12 million. Page 10. All right, let's move on now to the next paper. Let's take a look at the Punch. The Punch this morning. The Punch says Trump threat. Troops pound bases in key states. 86 rescued in air. Ground assault in Borno, Kwara, Katsina, Boko Haram Itwab clash leaves 50 dead. Page 2. Beside the mast, $4 million probe. EFCC pulls Silva on FBI Interpol watch list. Page 41. Presidency eyes NNPC shake-up as oil output falters. 9 banks pocket 14.7 trillion naira interest income. Over 100,000 policemen assigned to VIPs. Yes, this is really, really worrisome if you ask me. Going by the insecurity situation we have in the nation, it is alarming to actually know that in this country, with a police force on focus, over 100,000 policemen are actually assigned to just a few people. Talking about VIPs, if you ask me, we are the VIPs, the Nigerian society. The citizens are the VIPs. Security for all should not be just a privilege for some, but for all. That's the English word, where you have over 100,000 policemen guiding or guarding just a few tagged VIPs. It is indeed worrisome, and we do hope that if this statistics is true, you can actually see the picture of Betokung right beside this particular story. It is important that something is done, to unbalance these statistics, especially when you call to mind the insecurity situation in the nation. We need our police to protect us, to be at the right places when we need them, not just guiding or guarding a few Nigerians. All right, let us move away now to the Vanguard newspaper this morning. The Vanguard says insecurity. NAV strikes kill terrorists, bandits in Borno, Kwara, Katsina, others. That's on page 5. Above the mass PDP, pro-anti-convention forces fight as court adjourns case to November 12th. Let's unite against extremism, Olubado Soyinka, NHRC. 2027, Reagan worst coup, Dixon Amechi. Nigeria's private sector credit soars 75.9% in 2 years. Why would declare Timothy Silva wanted EFCC? Trump threatens BBC with $1 billion lawsuit over January 6 speech edit. All right, let's move on to The Guardian. The Guardian newspaper this morning. The Guardian says 33 years later, hope deems for safer pipeline supplies of Jet A1 to airports. Page 6 of The Guardian newspaper. Still on The Guardian newspaper, WHO declares 24 million living with diabetes in Africa. Fraud, apathy, threatening democracy, Dixon and Mechi say. Federal government urges calm as Soyinka Northern Group reject Trump's genocide claims. Telecoms operators warn of regulatory conflicts in digital economy bill. Reps Lord Tinubu's intervention payment of protesting contractors. Again, court adjourns suit on PDP convention. And beside that story, EFCC declares ex-Governor Silva wanted for alleged fraud. Way back, 2027, 70 CSLs demand enforcement of laws to curb vote buying. All right, up next is the Nigerian Tribune. Let's take a look at the Nigerian Tribune. The Nigerian Tribune this morning says Boko Haram, ISWAP clash at Borno border, over 150 killed. We have riders to the story. NAV kills ISWAP terrorist bandits in precision airstrikes across northern states. Police partners DSS, others to intensify patrol operations around churches in Abuja. Will place high premium on stable power, Tinubu. National Hajj Commission announces cuts in 2026 Hajj fares. Historical mistrust, land grabbing, illegal mining, banditry trigger violence, says presidency. Okpaholo revokes Mowa's call for sites be returned to Benin Central Hospital. Reps invite EFCC, ICPC to probe $4.6 billion Global Fund USAID grants. EFCC declares Timothy Silva wanted. Let's take a look now at The Nation newspaper. The Nation newspaper says airstrikes kill terrorists in Borno, pound hideouts in Katsina, Kwara. Religion, not Nigeria's crisis, says Soyinka on The Nation newspaper. NIGCOMSAT slashes 2026 Hajj fare to 7.6 million naira. Federal government cements 23 billion euro power project. All right, let's move on now to the Daily Monitor. The Daily Monitor is the next paper. We're taking a look at the Daily Monitor. Tinubu's government not interested in fighting insecurity. Babachir Lawal says a security situation has worsened under President's watch. Americans have right to defend Nigerian Christians. This statement is credited to Babachir Lawal. Alleged fraud, EFCC declares ex-Bayelsa Governor Temipwe Silva wanted. Digital economy will contribute 21% of GDP in 2027, Minister. Human trafficking threat to national security, public safety, DG NAPTIP. All right, let's move on to the next paper. Let's take a look now at the Daily Sun. The Daily Sun this morning says Sultan cautions Nigerians, advises citizens not to allow outsiders divide us. As governors go spiritual, as traditional rulers to consult gods of the land. Nigeria's democracy under threat from electoral fraud, apathy, Dixon and Mechi. More trouble for ex-Bayelsa Governor Silva. WHO, FCDO hail Governor Mba's investment in health system development. Domestic airlines need a single-digit interest rate special FX window, says Okonkwo United Nigeria CEO. Up next is the matrix. Let's take a look at the matrix. The matrix says insecurity. Nigeria turns up heat on ISWAP Boko Haram. Scores of ISWAP terrorists, bandits killed in NAF's attack. Sources, over 150 killed as Boko Haram ISWAP clash near Bronu. Babachir Lawal accuses Tinubu of lack of interest in fighting insecurity. Tinubu assures of federal government's full commitment to improving Nigeria's power sector. On entertainment, or should I call that entertainment? I don't think so. Court grants bail to Regina Daniels' brother. Reps probe $4.6 billion US health grants from USAID global funds. Atalanta sack coach after 11 matches amid row with Lookman. That's on sports. Finally, on the front page of the matrix, Dangote Fertilizer, German firm partner to license 4 urea granulation units in Nigeria. The Daily Independent is up next. Daily Independence this morning says Tinubu engages regional bodies in insecurity battle. Above the mass alleged $14.8 million fraud, EFCC declares Temipwe Silva wanted. Federal government orders expansion of major transformer substations to boost power supply. Textile titans back new board warned smuggling annihilated. All right, let us move on to the Leadership newspaper. The Leadership newspaper happens to have one of our focus of discussion this morning. It says, marketers blame supply hiccups as cooking gas prices surge again. I don't know how much it's going for now. Going by the front pages of our papers, it increased by 200%. I don't know how much it will go for now, but this is really worrisome because once cooking gas is affected, a lot of other essentials will definitely be affected, especially food. Those who buy food will have problems because there is no way the prices won't go up. And of course, those who cook the food, households will definitely be affected by this increment. And of course, trust, it will just spiral into every other sector in terms of the common man who always gets the brunt, feels the brunt of situations like this when it happens in the country. That's the front page, the screaming headlines on the Leadership newspaper this morning. We have more on the Leadership. It says, People's Democratic Party crisis, weakest camp reports Oyo judge to Judicial Council. Away from that, civil service to go fully paperless by December 31st. federal government. Conjure the gods to end insecurity, Uzodinma tells traditional rulers. Scores killed in Boko Haram ISWAP clash. Commission slashes 2026 Hajj fares. All right, let us move on to the Daily Times. The Daily Times says, North existential threats capable of destabilizing Nigeria, Dembazao wants. North existential threats capable of destabilizing Nigeria, Dembazao wants. EFCC declares Timothy Silva wanted. Nigeria's oil gas earnings drop 43% to 1.08 trillion naira despite output recovery. Nigerian stocks extend losing streak as investors withdraw 472 billion naira. Page 10. Troops rescue 6 kidnapped victims, arrest 29 logistics suppliers in Borno State. Up next is the Delhi Trust. The Delhi Trust this morning. Bandits attack 5 vehicles, abduct passengers in Kogi. Bandits attack 5 vehicles, abduct passengers in Kogi. Abuja hospital's mortuary drowns in stench decay. Silver EFCC puts FBI, NCA, Interpol on alert. Federal government pushes for Ekwemadu's transfer to Nigeria. All right, is that our last paper? Okay, we have one more. We have two more to go. Voice of Liberty is up next. Voice of Liberty, over 200 terrorists killed as Boko Haram ISWAP clash. Bandits stop harvest in Zamfara, force Sokoto farmers to pay harvest taxes. Let us take a look at First Daily. First Daily is up next. Nigeria's future hangs on credible 2027 elections. Experts warn at First Daily anniversary lecture. Amechi electoral reform, Nigeria's top priority. Itodo, citizens must defend their votes. Dixon, rigging was coup against the people. Amadi, cynicism threatens 2027 elections. Iworiso, mock. True change begins with the ballot. Randy Peters, youth must insist to make votes count. And on that note, we come to the end of our front pages this morning. Don't go anywhere. We'll take our break now. When we return, the conversation. Stay with us.
In the beginning, God created a beautiful world.
3, 2, 1. Action.
And that's why, at KAFTAN Television,
we imagine a beautiful world.
We are not just bragging.
We blaze the trail in broadcasting. And it is about you.
At KAFTAN TV, broadcasting is not just about information, education, and entertainment.
It's an aggregation of all you need to know in Nigeria
and around the world to create signal.
At KAFTAN Television, we have all it takes to be on top in broadcasting.
Our mission is simple: to project Africa in a truthful yet positive manner.
Wait, we're coming to you in style.
Here we are, starting from September.
Look at what the facts are.
And as you say on KAFTAN TV, imagine a beautiful world.
In the beginning, God created a beautiful world.
3, 2, 1. Action.
And that's why, at KAFTAN Television,
we imagine a beautiful world.
We are not just bragging.
We blaze the trail in broadcasting. And it is about you.
At KAFTAN TV, broadcasting is not just about information, education, and entertainment.
It's an aggregation of all you need to know in Nigeria
and around the world to create signal.
At KAFTAN Television, we have all it takes to be on top in broadcasting.
Our mission is simple: to project Africa in a truthful yet positive manner.
Wait, we're coming to you in style.
Here we are, starting from September.
Look at what the facts are.
And as you say on KAFTAN TV, imagine a beautiful world.
Yes, welcome back. It is still the press. We appreciate your patience today on the show. And I'm also glad to let you know that I have two guests already in the studio. I have my female guest in the studio this morning with me. We shall be alternating the guests. We'll take the female guest first before the gentleman. And of course, let me do the introduction. She is no stranger on the show. Well, I have a different script here. But let me introduce my guest. She is Uchenna Obidike. She is a legal practitioner as well as a social affairs analyst. Uche, it's so nice to have you on the show this morning.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thanks for your patience. So we have a lot to talk about this morning. I did say that we are focused. We have three focus today. With the short time that we have, we'll try as much as possible to tackle all of it. But first and foremost, let me see if I can get my rights. Okay, yeah, I already have it. This morning, we're taking a look at Nigeria's healthcare system. Longest strike since 2023. We're taking high cost of living, marketers supply hiccups, says cooking gas prices as cooking gas prices surge, and of course Nigeria's future hangs on credible elections, talking about the 2027 election. High cost of living, marketers blame supply hiccups on cooking gas prices surge. That's what I wanted to tell you. But on this first half of our discussion, we shall be taking a look at the Nigeria health sector. Uche, it is alarming. Right on the front page of our newspaper today, in Abuja, the mortuaries are going haywire. The front page says the stench is alarming. There's a lot happening, and statistics says this is the longest, the hardest that we've seen since 2023 in terms of our health sector. Of course, not forgetting the face-off between the federal government and doctors. The doctor strike is, you know, one big problem that we are grappling with right now. I really want your take on the present situation. Again, our focus is Nigeria's healthcare system.
Thank you, Anne. This is very terrible, very, very terrible news. You know, the Nigeria's healthcare system, which was already struggling under decades of underinvestment and policy inconsistencies, has been finally brought to its knees by the ongoing strike, which is currently the longest since 2023. It's as if we keep trying to break our own records in that regard, you know. But this is not just a mere industrial relation, but it's a reflection of a deep systemic delay in our healthcare system. Now, we've talked about mortalities involved. In as much as that is very, very sad, we also have other people that are affected. We have Nigerians, poor Nigerians who would have been forced to resort to private hospitals, who have taken advantage of the situation to hike their own prices, hospital bills. You know, we have the medical students and resident doctors who have had their training stalled because of the strike and disruptions. We've had disrupted surgeries. We've had Nigerians all at the mercy again of the government. You know, this recurrent strike since 2023, it reflects the very fragile relations between the Nigerian government and these healthcare unions. I'm talking about the NARD, I'm talking about the NMA and JHESO. But we have the Nigerians at the mercy, suffering and at their mercy. To make matters worse, we also have over 15,000 Nigerian doctors who have traveled abroad, also widening the brain drain and making matters worse. It doesn't help that, you know, our government has been silent. As you said, it's the longest strike. What have they done? Yes, you know, coincidentally, I had this discussion with somebody yesterday, and they're talking about the strike. Why is the government silent? And somebody told me, are they going to respond when we have an ongoing election? They're talking about, the person was talking about the Anambra state election, or when we have the threats of invasion by the United States. So what the idea the person was trying to give was like, well, this is not an overriding issue. This has been relegated on the scale of preference. Like, this one is just like almost an alternative forgone. Like, they've decided to choose this one over this one. And it shouldn't be that way, because Nigerians are dependent. This is not just a mere a mere industrial dispute between the government, but the lives of Nigerians depend on it. We cannot afford this. We cannot afford to. Many of us, private hospitals are very expensive, very, very expensive. How many Nigerians can actually afford those bills? We're talking about stagnated incomes. We're also talking about inflation. So it is not really fair. And I hope the federal government would hurriedly do something. And if I'm to quote my friend, who actually said that, oh, now the elections, the Anambra State elections is over, the threats of invasion are reduced, are minimal. Maybe we can now focus on this, because Nigerians are actually reliant on these hospitals. So I hope the government is watching and listening and decides to prioritize this issue as very urgent and fundamental.
Talking about prioritizing issues that concerns Nigerians, remember before the strike went into full gear, they did send out warnings to the federal government. And we all know the effects from history, and not just from history, when the healthcare system of any nation is affected in any way. It's the people that suffer.
Yes.
And I'm happy that you pointed out the poor, where you have a country where officials, those in government, travel out of the country for ear treatment, for eye treatment, because they have the wherewithal, because they are actually in the seat of power. They are able to travel out of the nation for Medicare. And back home, the healthcare system is in complete shambles. And one begin to wonder where or who. At the end of the day, is the poor that suffers. It will shock you to know that there are people who can even give birth in the hospital because they can't afford it. So they are forced to go to local homes, and they end up having, you know, this increases the mortality. You have deaths. We have reports coming in from these homes, which is not, which is not funny. So when you talk about prioritizing the need of Nigerians and, of course, prioritizing the healthcare, how do you pass the message to the government of the day to see how important it is for whatever is going on to be resolved as soon as possible?
You know, funny enough, you talked about medical tourism, because the reports have shown that Nigerians spend almost $1 billion annually on medical tourism. Of course, those expenses will not emanate from the poor people, but from the rich class. But who are the people that make up the entire population? I'm talking about the chunk of the Nigerian population. We know that we have a very wide class, poor class, and we have a very little, I'm talking about the class system now, have the rich, a very large margin between the rich and the poor, and we know that poor people make up a very large chunk of the Nigerian population, with very few selected rich people who can actually afford that. So if poor people, as you said, cannot even, some I've actually witnessed it, many poor people cannot even afford to pay the usual government hospital bills, and they even have to resort to delivering at home or using the local people for their own treatment. So now, if we have these people actually suffering because of the strike, the federal government has to wake up from its alleged slumber, because the science is deafening. Okay, what are these doctors even asking about? They are not asking for too much. They're complaining about the poor working conditions, which we all know is true. We've all visited government hospitals. You know how things work there. We're talking about poor remuneration, which is also not a different story or a strange story. We're also witnessing it. These are things. They're talking about signed MOUs which have not been followed through. it is not atypical of the Nigerian government to not follow up with its agreements and contracts. And they're also talking about brain drain, you know, because it widens the margin or the gap between the healthcare delivery to people, especially in the rural area. So these are the complaints. They are not very strange. They are not things the federal government cannot work about. And even if you even look at the budget, like the budget for healthcare even is below 5% of the entire budget, annual budget. You know, it shows something that the federal government is not prioritizing healthcare. You know, fortunately, I don't want to use the word fortunately, they have the alternatives of just jetting off abroad when, as you say, they have mere air infections or little things. But the people, this Nigerian citizenry, the bulk of the Nigerian citizenry, which is made up of those people who are dependent on these hospitals, are actually watching them. You know, I don't know, is the Nigerian government not tired of all these strikes and protests? Like, can they not make it stop? Their systems, their countries, you know, where things work out, where people don't have to strike, where people don't have to complain, where these things, like, why do we even have to wait for it to result in a strike? You know, what do you call it? A council, a negotiating council, a bargaining council can even be put up where they tackle all these issues before they escalate. Why do we have to bear the brunt of everything? This is unfair to Nigerians. And why is the federal government like that? Means they're comfortable with the strike because it's not their business. But they should remember that the people who voted them in are watching. And the silence, as I said, is deafening because the silence is dangerous. People are dying. You've talked about the mortuaries being full of, you know, mortalities and all that, corpses. And nobody is saying a word. The government has decided to keep quiet. But when people start protesting, we don't want a recurrence of what happened in 2020, where like the whole police brutality protest had to escalate, and we saw how it was. We don't want that, because where do they want? Okay, for instance, in Abuja, we know how expensive private hospitals are. Very expensive. How many people can afford them? And the government is just quiet, watching why people die, why surgeries are delayed, why people suffer. And this is the government which is boasting that we voted it in? No. The primary concern of the government is the citizenry. It is the primary concern. Anything that affects Nigerians, government, serious headache. And if they are not having that headache, if they are not feeling the pain we're in,
and there's something wrong. If you just joined us, it is the press this morning, and at this point I want the phone lines to be on the screen right now so you can call in to be part of the conversation. As you've noticed, today is definitely a special day on the show. Special presentation. I have my first guest this morning. After I'm done with my female guest, I will take a break and bring in our male guest. But the show is still on. Let the phone lines be displayed right now. Please call in as we take a look at Nigeria's healthcare system, which is what our focus is the doctor strike, which is the longest strike since 2023. And my guest, Uchenna Obidike, a legal practitioner, social affairs analyst, is still here with us as we discuss this issue. We're talking about the federal government feeling the pains of Nigerians and, of course, the silence that is deafening in terms of the doctor strike. And we've had data of a lot of loss of lives, and of course the mortuaries are overflowing with corpses, and there's no hope. It appears that there's no hope on the horizon. Or should Nigerians be hopeful that you know, somewhere along the line the desires will be met? The federal government will, like you say, wake up from its slumber and actually sit with the doctors and meet them, if not completely, but halfway. Yes. Because we cannot have our doctors strike this long, because it's affecting citizens. There are a lot of people dying. Even when the doctors are working, Nigerians can barely afford Medicare. They can barely go for treatments. Not to talk about now that we're having the issues that we have on ground. So I want to ask you, what should be the next line of action first for Nigerian, for the citizens, before we talk about the federal government. I want to ask also, Uche, is it that as citizens we find it difficult to communicate with those we elect to serve? Is it that there is a complete break in communication between the citizens and the elected?
Also, I know Nigerian youths have a lot on their plate, you know. They try to communicate. You know, a peaceful protest is also a way of, you know, communicating with the federal government, you know, informing the federal government that you are not happy about this. That is why it is a peaceful protest. But I think in Nigeria, that word peaceful has been expunged, or it has been misinterpreted by the federal government, because whenever there's a protest, whether peaceful or not peaceful, we know what eventually happens. The federal government doesn't want it. So everybody, you know, and Nigerians are still traumatized by what happened in 2020 during the police brutality protest. There were a lot of casualties, although the federal government will beg to differ, but you know, there are a lot of casualties. That has traumatized our youth, you know, where they don't want to shy away, but they're being very cautious about their engagement with the federal government. Now, these unions are almost representatives of the people, the JOHESU, the NMA, the NERD. They're representatives of Nigerians, of the Medical Council. Like, if the federal government cannot liaise, if federal government cannot negotiate, cannot bargain properly with these people, what can the normal common Nigeria do? But Nigerians can also do more. You know, funny enough, I don't think I've seen this trending on X, anything about the strike. You know, of course, the youths, they have their own issues, they have their social issues, they have their social interests that they are interested in. I wish they could channel more energy towards this issue, this fundamental issue. They are interested in, of course, a lot of social trends, things, social occurrences happening, celebrity news, but these are very fundamental issues. You don't know how hard or how hurtful it bites or pinches until you are like a witness, a testament, or a victim in this situation. And that is what I want Nigerians, an attitude I want Nigerians to kind of shy away from. You know, nobody protests, nobody talks about an issue until it affects them. What is bad is bad. Whether it affects your neighbor or whether you're watching from a distance, it is bad. So we can join forces, and we have the social media where we kind of raise our voices about this kind of issues that affect us. I'm sure if this issue for days, if it repeatedly trends for days, the Nigerian government is going to see it and actually pick interest. Like, okay, these people are not comfortable, but I don't think I've seen it trending for, like, there are other, of course, there's football. People are talking about the football. The football match that is coming up. People are talking about a lot of other things that I do not even care to mention. But this is also very fundamental, and I'm pushing it to the youths because we make up the bulk of the population. If we cannot bring our government to work with us, to listen to us, then we are failing in our own ways, because, you know, they say we are the future of this country, and we have to start working now. So we have to raise our voices, even by peaceful protest. But I hope the Nigerian government is even going to allow us the chance to even protest peacefully, because next you hear people being assaulted, battered, the use of tear gases and all that. I also want to speak to the Nigerian government to allow people, you know, express themselves. Do not politicize everything. If there is, you say, oh, is this party that is pushing them? It's because of this party. It's because of this person. No, Nigerians can, you know, come together, unite, and actually speak about this. It doesn't have to come from the doctors. If you go to the hospital and you don't receive medical care and you bring it up and it is trending and everybody is complaining, the federal government will focus. So we can do that much for ourselves instead of just silently waiting for the federal government, who is burdened. Now, I don't use the word burden, but who is interested in other things. Because at this point, I fear to say this, and I regret saying this, but this issue is not a priority to the federal government. If not, why is it silent? It is not an issue. The federal government is burdened by other things. which it knows about. I don't know why, because, you know, health is wealth. It is when you're healthy, like I even think of the future, think of tomorrow. You know, one thing I remember, not liking, but you know, that was a leveler of everybody. You know, during the COVID-19, when everybody had to resort to the local medical care, we were, you know, confined. We could not, of course, jet off abroad. That was when we saw the importance of our local medical care and our healthcare system. Unfortunately, you know, we don't have that confinement again, and the federal government is also has there to, you know, grow its own way, do as it wishes or pleases, but the voice of the people is louder than the will of the government.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Yes, so the phone lines are open. Once again, you guys are not calling in. We do want you to call in to be part of the conversation, even as we round up on our first discussion this morning. But before we go, there's the way we do it. Uche, I have to put you on the spotlight as you speak with your people in your dialect. No, I have to do it. You have to speak in your dialect before you go on the topic that we've spoken on this evening. Uche, you have 60 seconds. Oh yeah, Biko.
Oh my God. Okay. Umunemu ni Nigeria. Kai jisike kai kubuta ihe nile na-enye anyị nsogbu maka ihe government anyị na-eme. Anyị na-ahụ otu ndị doctor anyị na ndị nurses anyị si nọrọ n'ụlọ. Government anyị ekwubu okwu. Ka anyị jisike kwubuta ihe na-enye anyị nsogbu gbasara ihe a. Ka government nụ olu anyị nyere anyị aka, because anyị nwa maka anyị nwa bụ ndị na-ata ahụhụ ya. Maka ihe niile a na-eme no, so ka anyị kwupụta okwu Chineke gọzikwa anyị.
All right, the show is still on. We'll take a short break now to bring in our male guest, and the show will bring you more analysis as we continue. Stay with us. Yes, welcome back to the other half of our discussion this morning. And I'm glad to let you know that my friend is right here as we begin on our other discussion this morning. In the studio with me is Musa Mamman Kontagora, is a social affairs analyst. Musa, it's so nice to have you this morning.
It's a nice to have you. Thank you. Good morning.
It's taking me like forever. The last time you came here, I've been chasing you all over Abuja to make sure you come on the show, and I'm happy that you're here today.
Thank you very much.
We're taking a look at State of the Nation, analysis of front page of the papers. But again, Uche left discussing Nigeria's healthcare. Right now with Mamman, we're about to take a look at 2027 election. Nigeria's future hangs on a credible election. That's what experts say. I want to find out if my guests agree with that submission. The 2027 election, if you ask me as a Nigerian, the activity towards 2027 is something I have never seen in our political terrain. The agitation, the gravitation, the passion towards 2027 is something that will leave a man giddy. Now we've been told that, look, we need to get it right by the next election, that the future of the nation actually hangs on the 2027 election. We have to get it right. If I take one of the front pages of our papers today, if I can quickly take a look at what the analysis were. It says Nigeria's future, that's the first daily newspaper. The first daily says Nigeria's future hangs on credible 2027 election. Amechi actually said electoral reforms Nigeria's top priority. It also says citizens must defend their votes. Dixon says rigging was coup against the people. I can go on and on. So I really want, a lot of people will not really agree with all of this. I will ask you what's the big deal about it. But Mamman, in your opinion, how true is it that, 2027 election, we have to get it right, else the nation will have to answer for it in all. Your reaction to this, please.
Yes, good morning, Nigerians. To add up to what you said, or the topic of the discussion, first and foremost, this is first in history where we see a president taking a bold step. Bold step in the sense that Nigeria is left behind in terms of development, in terms of taking decision of its own. But we have found out that Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu have made it mandatory that there are a lot of steps we need to take. It might hurt, it might be hectic, but we need to take it in order to move forward. So it is a privilege for Nigerians now to sit back and make analysis. Those that are being elected into different offices, what have they done with their office? What contribution have they added? What development had they brought in their office? So if they found anybody wanting, fine. They have to vote the right person. But you see, in a system whereby Nigerians still believes in that ideology of vote buying, of ringing, we have passed that stage. Nigeria is the giant of Africa. Every country in Africa look upon us. Yesterday I was with someone when we went for an event. He said, if we Nigerians were thinking that we have not yet developed, we have developed. Why? Because that supremacy cannot be imposed in Nigeria, whereby you see a lot of presidents of some African countries, like the like of Cameroon, they will spend more than 30 years governing the country.
Beyond 30 years?
Beyond 30. So you see, Nigeria, we have taken it upon ourselves that there's a jurisdiction given on your tenure, and when it elapses, you're going. So we need to understand that there should be an antecedent that we want to achieve. You understand? The likes of maybe you have a lot of agendas that you want to achieve. You touch this, touch this, touch this. No. Let it be one by one. You understand? And thank God the youth are taking it upon themselves that it is their mandate to come out, partake, participate in the election, not as how it has been done before.
But do you think the Nigerian youth is, there's no more youth apathy in terms of election? Do you think the Nigerian youth is now aware to the extent that they are able to defend their votes, especially as we look towards 2027? As a Nigerian youth, what would you say to the Nigerian youth as 2027 approaches in terms of defending their votes, in terms of coming out to ensure that their vote count, instead of complaining after the elections are done when they don't come out? If you take statistics, most times it's the women that really come out during the electioneering period. You see women, you have more women. You see older women, very old women, come out to vote. You could actually pick out one or two youth coming out to actually defend their vote. You defend it by coming out to vote for the people you think are right to serve you, to serve, not to lead, to serve. So what would you say to the Nigerian youth, towards the arrival or the approach of 2027, what they should do to ensure that the people that they know in their heart that they are there are the ones elected rightfully?
Well, based on the information given by the INEC, based on the voters registration, we have more than additional of 30 to 40% of youths that have registered.
It's one thing to register,
of course,
it's another thing to come out on that day to cast the vote. But still,
education on election is more inclusive than before. A lot of people are not being educated on what politicking, what voting is all about. Now, there's a lot of sensitization by non-governmental organizations. There's a lot of sensitization by agencies like the National Orientation Agency, by the INEC itself, by a lot of people around. Why? Because if we didn't come out and participate fully, it's not all about voting.
Okay.
You understand? It's all about coming out, participate in it. You understand? Because a lot of people, we said, the people who voted are not good for the tax. They can't deliver. So you saying it, you should come out and partake. If you, like the 10th Assembly now, we have more inclusion of youth in the 10th Assembly. So we're expecting more in the 11th coming Assembly. For instance, we have there's a program that the Senate, that the Speaker House of Reps did, women inclusion in the government. You understand? So this has given a lot of women opportunity that this is their time. But the only thing I'm calling on the political parties is the likes of selling of forms, higher cost. You understand? That is what is weighing back a lot of youth to participate, especially the women. Because the men who have their own ways to get the funds in order to purchase the form.
We're talking about funds, but we heard that INEC is about adding more new political parties. We did hear that new political parties will be added to what we have already.
Well, even though new political parties are added, you understand, they will not have the volume. They will not add more volume, more value. The older ones that we already have. The only political party that will add value is that maybe the ADC, that is newly coming, the SDP, but the newly ones are just there in order to start up from the scratch.
Please, the phone lines should be displayed on the screen so we can have our callers call in. We didn't have any call when we had the first discussion. We do hope that you will call in and be part of the conversation. Today is a special presentation. We really do not have much time, but we have another topic that I want us to take a look at, which is the high cost of living. Nigerians are crying high cost of living. If we can have that displayed on the screen, and of course the visuals to go with it. High cost of living, marketers blame supply hiccups as cooking gas prices surge. So automatically we're done with the 2027 discussion. We want to take a look now at high cost of living. Mamman, Nigerians are crying. High cost of living, no hope. for Nigerians, as it were. Our first discussion was on healthcare before you came in. Doctors are on strike. People are dying. The Nigerian society is being crippled by a lot of problems happening at the same time. And just recently, the latest report we got is that fuel gas prices have gone up again. Of course, I would want your take on the standard of living of Nigerians, why there seem not to be any hope on the horizon, and when we have situations where prices continue to skyrocket, Nigerians are now faced with the present situation of gas hike. I know definitely that you feel the pangs, just like other Nigerians do.
Well, first and foremost, I used to say that number that for this country to get better, it is the duty of everyone. You understand? So the businessman, the marketers are putting blame on the government, whereby they are the ones that even have much blame. So first and foremost, we all need to have fear of God, because this is our country. We need to look down on those that are below. You understand? They are facing a lot of challenges. In the terms of a lot of business commodities, to me, I would put the blame on the businessmen. Why? Because, for instance, you bought something at the rate of 200 naira, you understand? And then when you understand that maybe an opportunity comes, you understand? Commodity is not in the market, you skyrocketed it, you understand? Not knowing that you have bought it already, it is in the warehouse. So all this is a lack of the sincerity, genuinity of ourselves. You understand? We don't love ourselves, we don't care for each other. All what we're after is selfish interests. So it is high time we need to understand that this country is our own. The government is trying, businessmen should also contribute. You understand? The community leaders should also make it mandatory that they look into the price of commodities, because a lot of people are suffering. I'm from a rural area, you understand? And when you go, you see a lot of people are barely having what to eat. So it is in this kind of situation, and a lot of people are here buying exotic cars. That is lack of conscience. You understand? Nowadays, we don't even fear God. A lot of people don't even fear God. You understand? So we need to go back to the drawing board. Let us understand that a lot of people are really suffering. In order to make and adjust this is the duty of everybody, not the government alone.
But the report says marketers blame supply hiccups. The marketers are saying is the supply channel. Is the supply channel that's the problem this time, that they are not the ones at fault. So that's the bane of the problem right now.
The problem with marketers sometimes is, they are coordinated. They are harmonized. So you not understand where the problem is coming from. Because they have to send their money, the goods they want, and then the supplier will give it to them. You understand? It's not the problem of the supplier, it's the problem of the marketers. If today the Marketers Association decided to say today, we need this to go down, you understand? They are the ones patronizing the product. You understand? They are the ones making the product to be relevant. So if today they decided to have the fear of God, to sit down and said, we need this to come down. In the essence of petroleum today, that we have a refinery in the country. So you see there are a lot of difference. Before it is being imported. Now it is not imported. The transportation cost is very low than before. So, but lack of the conscience, to me is conscience. Lack of conscience is still blaming the price, still blaming supply. There is nothing of such.
So Nigerians, if I ask you to send a message to Nigerians right now, if I ask you to send, because a lot of people are watching from all over the country, some will agree to what you have said. Unfortunately, the phone lines are not ringing, so we don't have any reaction from Nigerians. This morning, I don't know why the calls didn't come in this morning, but I'm just going to go ahead to ask that you send a message to Nigerians who are going through a lot, in terms of survival. Again, those that are facing the problems that come in with the high cost in fuel, gas prices, sudden hike in prices this morning. I want you to send a message to them, to put something soft in their hearts as they go through what they go through.
First and foremost, it's the duty of the government to look into it. That's first. Secondly, it is the duty of other agencies that are in charge of price control to look into it. In the sense that it is high time we look to have the mindset of the pain for me is a pain for all.
Okay.
A pain for all is a pain for me. So we need to come back and make sure that there is a law guiding price control in Nigeria, in the sense that if, as we are now, everybody puts price he wished, everybody blames the economic, you understand? Not knowing that a lot of people have selfish interests on themselves. So it is high time that, especially the governors, because a lot of commodities are being controlled in the states level.
Okay.
So each state has a Ministry of Commerce, a Ministry of Trade. You understand? They should call upon the trader union of that state, sit with them, give them their own mandate, and then the traders union should also have an interface with the state government.
Do you think that will change anything?
It will go a long way, because every state has local government, have state House of Assembly, you understand, have councillors. That is that need to be debated. You understand? The pain for Nigerians, not going to the National Assembly, but going planning for the issue of increasement of states.
Okay.
You understand? Okay. Whereby we really need to do the needful. High cost of living, insecurity, health, those are the things, those are the things that we really need to look into.
Okay, you have just 1 minute in your dialect. Hausa, what do you have to say to your people in terms of what you've said now? Just 60 seconds before the show comes to an end.
Okay. So, in Nigeria, ina kira ko kuma ina gargadi a dukanmu, haƙi ne ya rataya a wuyanmu yau mu yi ƙoƙari mu gyara Najeriya. Ba mu da ƙasa da ta wuce Najeriya. In Najeriya ta lallace ma dukanmu ne. So mu yi ƙoƙari mu haɗa kanmu. Shugabanninmu 'yan kasuwa su yi ƙoƙari su duba lamurorin da ake ciki yanzu, tsadan abinci, tsadan rayuwa, mu yi ƙoƙari da attajiran masu kuɗi su ma su yi ƙoƙari su san cewa haƙƙin su ne su yi ƙoƙari talaka da ke wahala sun rage mashi, sun sauƙaƙe mashi wahala, sannan kuma mu yi ƙoƙari mu koma ga Allah, mu yi addu'a Allah ya kawo mana sauƙi a ƙasar mu Najeriya, Allah ya yi mana matsalolin da muke ciki.
Thank you so much. That's all time will allow on the show this morning. We made it. I'm so happy that the show went on. I want to appreciate my guest, Musa Mamman Kontagora, a social affairs analyst, for being on the show. And again, thank Obidike, legal practitioner and social affairs analyst, who came in on the first discussion. And of course, everyone who watched the show today, as we take a look at the state of the nation, discussing Nigeria's healthcare system, high cost of living, and of course, 2027 Nigeria's election, forthcoming election. Those were our focus this morning. I appreciate you for watching the show. My name is Anire Binitie. Keep a date with us tomorrow on The Press. Until then, for me, enjoy the rest of your day.
Thinking of where to get the latest information and in-depth analysis on news, events, and trending stories around the Federal Capital Territory? Or do you need a medium to showcase those amazing brands, businesses, and events of yours?